I see something back here.
Like this.
Oh, she only mentioned that. Well, I
Usually
just-
she goes, say hi, and then as we walk away from whoever she
Yeah,
said, she says hi.
Yeah, it's, down here.
Hi.
Okay.
Well, she needs something to drink there. She's got her glass ready to go.
Although it's all over her shirt, so.
Oh, I'm not a concrete guy, but it's on the day. Oh,
Well, I just, I can go north today.
yeah,
And up there in that snow.
yeah.
But I was driving past the Amazon building, they got like eight or nine trucks there, with their own trucks, As much concrete as they go through, I wonder how long it takes to make a load.
Oh, there, I think that plant, they have a portable plant on site right there. They just truck materials into it. It probably does, I want to say, what is that? I don't know, maybe 160 yards or more.
Oh.
A yard in a truck is 9 yards. Well, of course, there they may be able to go 10, they don't have to worry about labor structure. Yeah.
So if they go 10 yards, they go
16.
trucks, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty high capacity plant out there.
Hey, so, you saw the email from the guy.
Yeah.
When do you want to meet? You want to meet prior? Or do you want to meet then?
No, I think we should meet prior, definitely, make sure we're on the same page, yeah.
Okay, when do you want to do that? What's your week look like this week? Mine's a little bit crazy because we're going to start at the film.
Yeah. The salesman decided he likes drinking more than working, so it's gonna be a little busy. Mm. Oh, we got barbecue this week, right?
And Wednesday.
Wednesday, sure, across the middle. Thursday afternoon is good.
Like when you're talking afternoon,
All I got is one thing, from 9:30.
so what about like 4 o'clock?
Okay.
Can you be home by then? Okay,
So now you just have to.
Thursday at 4.
What do you want me? At my house? I'll just call you that. It's, well, it's good.
I mean, it should, or actually, we can just meet that little coffee shop there.
Broads.
I don't know, the next one, next to there.
That's just, yeah. Okay.
And everything.
Said 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
I've never been in there either.
All the codes.
We could meet in there too.
That's Thursday, right?
Yeah, the 14th.
Okay, let's do it.
And I'll just call you that day. make
Yeah,
sure
dude,
you're
yeah,
still-
we're, it might go, I don't know how your day's gonna look, we might be able to do it earlier. if you want.
Yeah, I only got one thing on there, which is rare, so
Is there,
it'll fill up. That's why I wanted to get you in there.
yeah, okay.
Well, how bad was the damage at the, there Saturday?
$35,000.
No, I meant you personally.
Oh.
What's that?
Well, I actually, I had put my name down on a lot because I wanted that bar.
Yeah.
So, that was like 200, I lost out on that one.
Oh, yeah.
And we had our name in like all sorts of stuff, so it would have totaled over $1,000, but we lost, I got a pullover,
Okay.
and that's about it. We lost everything else. Melissa's daughter outdid it, she liked standing there, and my wife wanted a set of
See you later, baby.
baking sheets, and stuff like that. So we thought we had that, and I guess, dog went over, and someone went over after us, so we didn't get anything really, and then, most of it went to scholarships, so.
I got the same thing with that. I got 3 potted flowers and, I scored some Roundup.
There you
Yeah, I got enough Roundup now to, so big jugs of Hans's great, I don't know why. It's just, something I needed,
go.
but
Yeah.
maybe not quite that much.
Yeah. Hey,
That was a fun night though.
it was,
That was good. 35 grand.
yeah, that's pretty good, right?
That'll help. Yeah.
Definitely.
They got 35,000.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
I was trying to bid on that helicopter ride and my wife said, you and who else?
Yeah.
Hey, you didn't think of me?
Well, I think it went for over 1,000. I like you, but.
Yeah.
No.
I started with the wine tasting. And then it got really expensive. And I was like, I don't know if I want
Oh, it's for the kids, come on.
Oh, that's fine, but it's like the wine, I don't know. So I let myself get up there.
What else did they have? Did Bill Case have any, see something in the skybox?
Mariners?
No, Beavers.
No, I don't think that was on there.
It was just 4 tickets to the
he's-
Mariners. I don't
He's
know.
he's donating his whole bus for that car museum tour.
Oh, where's the car museum?
It's in Salem at an undisclosed location. It's kind of like this mythical thing and
No, so this guy is the undisclosed because he doesn't want it known.
Yeah.
He owns the biggest Mopar collection, I think in the United States. It's a family that started out with these retirement homes, these Alzheimer's
Yeah.
units. And they made a boatload of money. And I got some pictures in my phone of some people that went to those and showed me some of the cars. It's amazing.
well, I'm on board.
It's amazing. Are you going on that one?
Yeah, I was actually, so we have some customers and our typical thing is we take them golfing, take them fishing, whatever. And some people just aren't into that. And I started asking around a little bit, those customers, and they're like, hey, I've heard of that. That's real. I'm like, that's real. So yeah, I bought 7 seats to go check it out.
It's by the airport.
So Joe said his office, I think is above it, he said, and when it's muscle cars and stuff, and he said when they fire them up in there, his office. So I'm pretty excited about it.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I hate golf. I think it's because I'm so bad at it. I go all the time.
I've never done it.
I've only done it as on the last day of school with a bunch of teachers where you got to do the thing where you go as a group and the person that goes the farthest, everybody else picks up their balls and
That's
puts it in the
That's
same
all.
spot.
Yeah, that's, if I go, that's what
I've done miniature golf, and that's about it.
Well, last year, there was a golf tournament, a fundraiser for another school district, and so my colleague invited me to be part of this for some. And I haven't played for 5 years, you know, so, but I was like, sure, you know, do it. And of course, they were used to playing with Kent, and you know, he was a Dolphin. And so he was out, he would add to their team. And I just sucked so bad.
You see, it seems like when you're golfing with people that really know how to golf, they get impatient with you. I mean, I don't know, I've never golfed, but it seems like they would, you know, because, you know, they can do par and you're 10 over par, you know, or whatever.
Well, there's-
That would be me.
Everybody had to, so I had 3 holes where I had to lead the group. So whatever I got, that's where the group went. And so this was before the golfing started. I went to warm up. Every single tee off was beautiful, straight 300 yards. I mean, I was
That's
golfing.
That's pretty good.
It was good. It was best I've ever done. I could not get a great shot. And then when I got into actual play, I think I froze because everyone's watching. And it just kept sucking, you know, just kept, you know, shooting over here, over there. So I kind of let the team down. I had a couple good shots, but other than that, so I don't think I'll be invited back this year. Yeah, it's April. I don't know. It should be around this time. I haven't been invited back. That's all right.
Well,
though.
Brad, we'll wait a couple more minutes, and then if not, we'll just go ahead.
Okay.
This is just we're not even gonna open up the session.
Right. That makes sense.
Are these work sessions typically on the record?
A work session is, but this is just a discussion.
But it's down as a work session.
You know what? Maybe we should open it up as a work session and be recorded, because there are 3 of us here.
I have it recording.
Okay. You're recording our talking about golfing.
Can we have a light or something like in the studio?
Sorry.
Especially with me being on the board, I think it'd be in the best interest of the district.
We'll just have her cut from.
Well, it's not being live streamed, it's just being recorded.
Okay.
I don't, Jennifer, you know what these are for?
I forgot, yes.
No, okay, I didn't know.
Yeah,
these-
thank you.
Not a big deal. It just makes it a lot simpler.
Yes.
Probably haven't noticed, I don't like using them and I always forget, so bear with me.
Just right by gravel water.
Yes.
Actually, I would like a fresh one, please.
You don't care, it's not cold.
No, I actually prefer it room temperature.
You too.
Thank you.
You know, it's supposed to be better for you to drink it every time.
Yeah, because it doesn't affect your heart. It shocks your heart. All that cold water shocks your heart. I always drink room temperature water.
Guess drinking cold water is an American thing. I was told that that's kind of an American thing. It's like the water cold. And in Asia, they drink it in temperature.
Yeah, in Asia, they drink the beer room temperature.
I know, yeah, that's true.
What's up with that?
I know,
Okay, that's wrong. I don't even like beer, but,
For that, that's wrong either.
yeah.
What's your name? It can be like,
Well, they have cask beer in England, you know, they pump it right out of cask, and so it doesn't have any CO2 or anything. There's a place in Salem that had that, and I tried it. It's not bad beer. actually. Okay, Brett. Okay, I'll wait a minute, I'll bring it in. So we're gonna open this, we're gonna call this meeting to order. We're gonna do the flag salute.
Should we wait for them?
For what?
Oh, the rest of the board members or no? Doesn't it? Okay.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
so, well,
So we're okay.
I almost took out our recording.
Brett, so I'm just gonna state that this is a work session. The three board members that are here are Fred, Kate, and myself, Terry. And we will do a roll call after everybody gets. Thank you.
Actually, I have some, I've read, I can't remember what page we were talking about.
69.
I'm sorry, Brad, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think we have some policy that addresses this, and I have some concerns with the book, and I don't even want to, I think I'd be out of place to say what those concerns were during this work session. I brought the policy with me, if we could maybe go over the policy that regarding instructional materials, program adoption procedure. And the only reason I looked is because I did have concerns with the book. And I thought it would be nice to have a way to have more people than just the board take a look at it and have some parent involvement. It turns out we have a policy that states that that's probably what we should be doing, in my opinion. So I brought copies for everyone.
Yeah,
But-
I like to see.
And for the record, it is policy IIA-AR1 regarding instructional materials, program adoption procedures. Does the Secretary want to copy?
Yes.
Welcome.
Mind if I answer it?
Oh,
Address it?
so open,
So,
well, I guess it'd be up to the.
No, go ahead.
so we're not looking to adopt any materials. And this is not, the book study is not about adopting a curriculum or adopting any kind of set of books or spending any money on curriculum materials. It's to talk about a vision and talk about the way forward for our students. And part of it is, the beginning parts of the book. The first couple chapters, a little dire, but they sort of set out a vision for the future of some of the challenges laying ahead for our students. And then we go into and talk about relationships, the importance of relationships in classrooms, and how we support and develop the whole child. And working to, we've been talking a lot about social emotional well-being and the challenges that we're all facing in school every day. And I think this chapter does a really nice job of kind of synthesizing and capturing what it is I've been talking about. So when it comes to developing the whole child, and I'm curious to hear your reactions to it, because we had talked about what, 3 through 5 for today?
2 through.
2 through 5. So it's a lot, taking on a lot. So you can just kind of pull from wherever that you felt that stuck out for you, or something that you felt that was interesting, and we can just kind of focus and start there. But chapter 4 is rigor and relevance, and how it starts with relationships. And then we've been having some really good engaged conversations, both at the district office staff and then also with administrators. Today, we had a really good conversation on chapter 5, future focus, not forward focus. And just kind of talking about the task ahead, because as we put together our strategic plans, we're really looking at addressing, like, what is the vision? What is what, when you graduate from high school in 12th grade, where do we want to go? What do we want that child to be able to do? How are we preparing them for the future? And is our system currently aligned to that vision? And if not, what do we need to do internally to be able to build and get structures going to get them there? So part of the purpose of this book is, as we talk about the strategic plan, the vision forward, it gives us some common language. So when we talk about, future focused and not forward focused, then everyone goes, oh, I understand what you're talking about. When we talk about redoing our pillars next year and assembling people, when we talk about a world-class education with 21st century skills and preparing our students for that, then we have a common language around that. So that's the purpose of it. And so as kind of an introduction, I guess I would just, in terms of a book study, what we've been doing with each group is just kind of opening it up to, whatever chapter, what some piece of it that stuck out for you, or something that someone says in the discussion and jumping onto that.
Okay, for me, back on page 26 in the book, one of the things that really struck out at me is that.
So are we gonna just ignore the policy then, and or are we saying it's not, this policy doesn't align with what we're doing?
I don't think this policy aligns with what we're doing. We're just talking about, from what I understand, that Brad's trying to do is just trying to get everybody on the same page. Now, I'm going to tell you, I haven't read as much as you guys have read the book, so I don't know. I read the intro and I scanned over the first chapter of it to read it, but I don't think, we are not going to use this as an educational piece of instruction, correct?
So we're not adopting a curriculum, and we're not adopting a textbook, and this is not a process. So that policy speaks to curriculum adoption and being able to go through a certain process where we decide, what English books and so forth we want to use. This is a book study that we commonly do book studies. We choose different books to do book studies that are relevant to the field. And this one just happens to be the one that I chose for this year to lead our crew. And we thought it'd be good for the board to also read it as well and be part of it, because this is all the work that our teams are going to be reading and working on as well. How staff is going to, how our administrators are going to be rolling it out. We've talked about the fall, and we talked about using parts of the book to have them read to help talk about the urgency. And talk about urgency to change and what that is. And so the main people that have to be on page with us are the implementers, and the implementers are the teachers. So anyway.
So for me, on page 26 in the book, go ahead, Fred, you got something you need to say.
Yeah, I think this policy is written just for stuff like this, and I think there's some fairly controversial subject matter in this book that if parents were given a chance to be on the committee that determines if we roll this out, even if it's just to the teachers, and it mentions curriculum quite often in here, so personally, I feel like this policy directly relates to implementation of this program. You want to call it theory, whatever you want to call it. I think that's exactly what this policy was wrote for. So if we're going to continue, I don't feel comfortable being part of the discussion. I think it goes directly against the policy of the board.
So I would just say that I think if there's some parts of the book that struck you in a certain way, I think that's what we're trying to get out in the book study, is be able to talk about that. So I'd be interested to know what areas of the book that you felt, it sort of ignited you in some way.
I wouldn't describe it as ignited. I always try and look at it I don't have any kids in school. But as a parent, if I knew this was being implemented, I would be concerned. So that's.
What about, what aspect of it? Like what is it that's concerning?
There are several in there, and honestly, I think that's exactly what this policy is for. And if you've got parents involved, I don't know for sure, but I would imagine that not many parents know the contents of this book and know that it's being implemented in the school.
So we're not implementing anything, and it's not a curriculum. It's what we're doing is having a conversation about learners today, building, our strategic plan as to what we want our learners to be, and being able to have a conversation about it. So the conversations we've had so far have been centered around, in the early chapters, some of the challenges facing kids today. There's ones about the social emotional well-being of kids, the developing the whole child, and the pieces that they're outlining on here are very true to what it is that we're seeing in classrooms, right? So when we see this, we're like, yeah, that makes sense. And then there are some ideas for how to support kids. And so when we talk about, I'm just taking social emotional learning in chapter 3, for example, one of our cornerstones in our strategic plan is social emotional learning. So if we're really focused on making sure that, we're seeing like heightened anxiety, we're seeing depression, we're seeing kids really needing support on how to regulate their behavior. So we're putting in things like Wheeler, we're putting in things like PACS and into the classroom so that, these kids have the skills to be able to regulate themselves. So all this chapter does is both affirm what it is we're seeing, but also gives us some language and strategies for planning the future.
Is it going to change the way we teach?
How would that have, how would it change the book itself isn't going to make any changes other than it help inform a conversation. How would it change?
It was a question.
But I mean, how would it? So a book itself is not going to. There's a difference between, say, the EL Achieve as an example. So EL Achieve is a group that produces curriculum to help us teach English learners. So when we are teaching ELD, they are creating units for doing that. So reading a book on teaching English language development through that organization could help inform how we teach, a class. This isn't helping to inform how we teach specifically. It doesn't give us any of this is what you're going to now do. It's more of a philosophical book about the task at hand, and then what we're doing is building and having other conversations around building strategic plans that this helps to inform, because it gives us conflict.
Okay. my position hasn't changed, so unless this board, doesn't want to follow this policy, I'm not comfortable, without parents' involvement with this and taking part in this. And all the rejoin it.
Well, can you give an example?
No, I don't want to get drawn into debating because I'm doing exactly what, this policy outlines that we have a program for. And it's not because I haven't read the book. I went through it, highlighted, underlined everything else, and whatever page I said I was on. And like I said, I just got to a certain point that with my highlights and my underlines and everything else, that as a parent, if I didn't know this book and whatever you want to call it, it's not a program, whatever, the idea, the theory, whatever you want to call it, I would be very uncomfortable with that.
So
So
I
I
think
think I'm not
we'll-
gonna get drawn into a debate about the book itself.
Okay, but I think what would be helpful, Fred, is if we're having a conversation about a book that you find troublesome in some way, that we would understand a little bit more specifics as to why. Because there's no, anytime we do a book study, we've done, school districts do book studies all the time, and you don't bring parents in to review the book because it's not, that's not a curriculum adoption. So book studies aren't a part of this because we aren't adopting a curriculum. So there's a difference.
Okay, well, it's a difference of opinion that I have.
Okay,
But
yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. So do you want to just leave?
yeah, I can leave in 10
Come back
minutes,
in 10 minutes.
come back, yeah, you guys good with that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Yeah.
I found page 26 interesting where it talks about that 1/3 of men between 25 and 54 will be out of the middle of the century. That's scary to me. And it says, very likely, more than half the men will experience a year of non-work for every year, for every 5 years. And that to me is just mind-boggling that things will be changing. And they said it started because of COVID, with all the unemployment and the number of people and the jobs that were lost. And then the other was the transitions that have been made in the past, from earlier transitions from the agrarian society to the industrial society, and then from the industrial society to the knowledge-based society. So these are transitions. So we're in a stage of transition.
Right.
And so I think that's what we're looking at as it's going to affect. Because when they started, it was, when the school started in the United States, it was reading, writing, and arithmetic. Because those were the things you needed to be successful in an agrarian society and to move on. In the industrial society, we added being able to follow the directions, to be able to learn a task and to do it repetitively in that area in order to grow. And we're going to be moving to beyond that.
I'm not interrupting something.
No,
Not
you're
interrupting your mic.
No, you could be here. It's fine.
I also thought it was interesting as they're talking about today, how many companies, in order to keep their companies viable, go from paying benefits to full-time employees, to cutting people back to shorter hours, or labeling people independent contractors and make them responsible for their own benefits. So to me, that was interesting.
When they're talking about AI intelligence or AI driven, is that artificial intelligence?
yeah.
That's what that is. It's kind of-
Yeah, it's on 29, agriculture, construction,
Yeah.
finance, food service, law enforcement. Robocops coming.
I know, right?
You know, there is no doubt that there's been a drastic change in the way our jobs have been in the last 20 years even. But even if you go back 50 years, it's drastically changed. And it did it again in the early 1900s, or did it first in the early 1900s, you know, even with building cars. When they came up with the assembly line, it just took out a ton of people. And now even more so with the robotics going in there and everything, you know, it's just, you know, people jobs are trying to become more efficient. And a lot of times, you know, manual labor isn't the most efficient way to do it. So they're using, you know, this AI type of industry to do things that they, you know, I mean, look at the library. You're between the library and a computer. And it used to be when we were in school, all we had were libraries. Now it's all computer, you know, and you get all of our information over the cloud or whatever, you know. So, in some ways, we're becoming more efficient, we're cutting labor out. So, you know, like I said, I have not read this yet, but I just looking at the vanishing jobs right below what Kate was talking about. You know. That's it.
Well, this isn't the first book I've read that you know, talks about this and the changing landscape of our world. That artificial intelligence is getting so sophisticated that that you're going to see what they're saying is in these jobs, and they're already seeing it, that they're going to see fewer and fewer jobs open for people in the traditional way that they are now. The jobs are going to change. They're going to be able to adapt and train in different ways, but you know, it's gonna have an impact. And so what he's trying to do here in the first part is really kind of set a stage for the need to change the way we look at education. And so, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the Snyder report. But I mean, gone are the days where you stand up here and you talk for an hour to class. And you take up and you give them worksheets, remember the old ditto makers, you know, and all that. And gone are those days. Now, teachers need to be more facilitators. They need to be getting, you know, kids working on solving problems. Not that there isn't a place for direct instruction as well, but there needs to be some change in how we approach education if we're to prepare kids for this changing world. And that's sort of like, if I were to sum up the book and
One of the other things I saw in this chapter was the fact that we have a shrinking middle class.
We're almost out of time. I was wondering if we could move to a deeper chapter, like 3 or 4. Just an overview of something that stuck out for me there.
Brad, I'm thinking that most of us didn't get that far. So I'm going to say next month, maybe we could do it at that point.
That's fine by me, but I'm there, so. Yeah.
Did you have something in 3 that impressed you?
Well, I mean, the thing that I think. Percentage of change in hours worked and things like that, to stand out. I mean, that is one of the things that we, you know, one of the mistakes that's been telling learners that all they have to do is get through the next test and make it to the next grade. You know, and that's just not true anymore. You know, that stood out to me, you know, that's been something that I, you know, it's kind of one of one of those things where I say, what, granted, that's great, but, but is a big wrong word there. On that part. That, I'm gonna highlight these, so I'm gonna highlight these. Like a man.
Well, we did.
We're just finishing up our work session, we're just finishing up.
Wanted to say the other part of it there was the non-cognitive based skills based on social and emotional learning will bring a tremendous value to employers. Because they still need to work, but then it talks about trust building, showing empathy, cultural awareness. Work both on situated teams. Doesn't it, right? So, I mean, how all that ties in to the AI algorithm and automation, or eating up jobs. The career ready versus college ready.
Conversation around that too. All right, well, thank you. And we will continue on.
I have a parent saying Zoom link isn't working. Google, the main page says the meetings today, Google Calendar says tomorrow.
Facebook is down right now. I'm sorry.
I was just like, burn off. We'll run you up and put this- I ran myself up and down. So that- My wife goes down. Quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tracy and Dewey, we already opened the meeting. It started at 6. And we did the flag salute, but we haven't done a roll call yet, so I'm gonna do roll call right now. Tracy, are you here?
Yep. Tracy's here.
Fred?
Here?
Dewey?
Here.
Kay?
Here,
And I, Terry Cumwell. Okay, we're gonna review and adjust the agenda. Now. So if you guys can see on the policy, there's JFCJ and KGBB that we put on hold, and they have to do with both with weapons and firearms. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit later on the agenda.
I'd like to swap on 11 board comments. I'd like to swap A and B, that will do the self-evaluation discussion first, and then the general comments.
Okay, perfect. Any other comments? Any other changes? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to accept the agenda and consent items with the correction.
There's a second.
So that,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the agenda consent items as changed. All in favor? Tracy?
Aye.
Aye.
You? Aye. Okay,
I,
and chair votes up. Okay, spotlight in education, SEL.
So tonight, we're gonna have Becca Mallory and Justin Westbrook talking a little bit about our social emotional learning page, present that to you and just kind of give you an update of where we're at. Kathy's cut first. Tell her, okay?
Hey, school board, thanks for having us. And also, thank you for your service to the community, your continued service for many of you. We do appreciate it. I know it's a big commitment to be a part of the school board and make difficult decisions, especially through the most difficult time in possibly public education, I would argue, in the last few years. So which brings us to SEL. Sounds like you guys were maybe discussing SEL a little bit.
About it and
Yeah.
discussing, so.
Well, I enjoy discussing it. So if you ever have questions or want to chat about it, I love talking about social emotional learning. It's important. Before COVID, there was a climb in anxiety and depression in young children. And unfortunately, COVID has exacerbated the problem quite a bit. You can imagine a child who may be prone to anxiety, being home where it's perhaps calm and quiet, and then being put back into a full school environment. That anxiety can amplify quite a bit. So the need for tools to be successful in classroom, be successful at school, be successful with their peers, those tools need to be refreshed and directly taught. There needs to be deliberate part on us to provide that for them, a framework. Ruler is something that Brad has probably talked to you about, hopefully quite a bit. Ruler is a framework. It's not a curriculum like math curriculum that has lessons. It's more of a framework of how we operate. It is establishing safe communities in the classroom, safe communities at work by expressing how we want to feel when we get there, safe, respected, and what we're all going to do to make sure we get there. It starts with some common language. It also has a tool called Mood Meter, which you might have seen around campuses. It's an opportunity for kids to reflect on how they're doing and also let people know how they're doing. And that tool builds vocabulary for emotions to be able to really tease out, am I angry, am I frustrated, am I upset about something, and put a specific word on it. And that helps them understand it a little bit better and even plan to express how they feel in a way that's healthy. And probably seen some examples of or heard examples of kids expressing themselves in ways that are damage relationships or create problems for others. And so that ruler program at the end, the last R in ruler stands for regulate, learning healthy ways to regulate themselves, understand where they're at, and then regulate. Also, nationwide data has shown over, I think it was 53% was the last that said kids have self-reported some sort of trauma in their lifetime. And in education and mental health, it's called ACEs, it's adverse childhood experiences. And those experiences can affect how we're able to learn. Those experiences, whether the past or current or ongoing, they can really, really hinder our ability to absorb new information, especially if that trauma is something that we're always battling with. There's lots of science on learning and stress on the brain and your ability to access new information under stress. So Ruler is kind of a framework that we can all work together and use. It also has a component of conflict resolution in it that preserves relationships, repairs relationships when there's a conflict. So this is a goal for our district, is to move forward with these direct instruction skills with programs for the elementary, like Steps to Respect or Second Steps. These are curriculum programs, kind of like a math program where the lessons are taught directly. There are activities and there's assessments along the way to see if the kids are getting. And I think in the book I was reading it, Fred's, it listed the competencies: self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness. These are some competencies that hoping we can assess with another tool. I'll talk a little bit about later. I'm working with the ESD on. But mostly, Becca, where'd she go? Over there. She jumped right in at the request of Brad and created a kind of an online tool for families and students. So she's going to walk you through some of those elements.
So I would say about a month ago, Superintendent Kager had attended a conference out in Nashville, and he learned some really great strategies and resources for social emotional health that we wanted to have accessible to our students. So we sat down, being fun in the tech side, he asked if I could help create a website that would put these resources in a way where students and parents can access it easily. And my creative mind instantly went to a Bitmoji classroom. So I don't know if any of you have found a Bitmoji classroom, but if not, I'm going to show you what it is today. So I'm starting here on our Jefferson webpage, and under parents and students, there's a link that says mental health resources. And that will lead you directly to our Bitmoji classroom with Superintendent Kaepner as our shining star meditating for our mental health resources. So in this page, the fun part about a setup like this is that there are clickable links throughout with various items. So for example, any of these little boxes in here are a clickable link, and I'll show you where those lead. But before I do that, I want to start with our parent center, because this is really the heart. This one and the student center are really the heart of this website. So parentguidance.org is a company that really helps parents get some resources and help to make their child successful emotionally and socially. They offer various resources, like having a therapist on call that someone can reach out to. But one of the cool things that we've partnered with them is offering mental health courses. So these are all also clickable links that will lead directly to parentguidance.org's website. This register for free courses will turn into the link that I want to lead us once we do our first class. And we've decided our first class is going to be on how parents and adults can help prevent teen suicide, because that is a real need in our school districts. So what this does is we contract out a licensed therapist, or not we, but parentguidance.org contracts out a licensed therapist to do a mental health class. That's one class, or it's a one-night deal, and parents access it by logging into a Zoom class, and then they can interact with it, but the Zoom class is also recorded. So then that recording will then get tagged into our register for free courses. I'll adjust that to say view previous courses, because we have to pay for each course that we offer. It's free to the parents, but not to the school. So then the parents and students will have access to those recordings anytime for the rest of as long as we have this class. Our hope is to do bullying is the next topic. They don't have that available until May, so we're hoping that once that's available, we can start tapping into that resource. This is so much easier having a bunch of moms in the room. One cool thing is, so parentguidance.org, their kind of rule of thumb or their agreement is that for us to post and access a lot of their resources, all we have to do is just put their logo on our website that links to their page. So we have that on our main page, but I also included it into this Bitmoji page, and I sent them a link to verify that this was acceptable to them. And they actually loved our Bitmoji website so much that the CEO is using this as their resource to other schools and getting them to put something similar together to get our students actively and parents accessing mental health resources that are available. So that's kind of cool. That made me feel really good.
Since we're gonna charge us.
No, I should, right? Patent the idea. Except Bitmoji Classrooms was not my idea. It was just something that I have fallen in love with. So leading back to the main page, the Student Center is the next area I want to focus on. My Life is Worth Living is a mental health series that was created by the same authors of the kids show Wild Kratts. And they use their animated skills to create a video series on each of the 5 topics. And they are relatable to our middle school and high school students. These are topics that just like you would watch in a normal, I know. Just like you'd watch in a normal cartoon, it has what the problem is and then how they worked that way through the problem. So there's suicide survivor, LGBTQ abuse, bullying and substance abuse, and then trauma survivor. And then Alex Boye is a musical artist who was about to commit suicide when he heard a song on the radio that changed his mind. And then he decided to make it his life's mission to make music in hopes of changing the mind of someone else who's going to commit suicide. So the Alex Boye story box leads to an interview with Alex Boye explaining his life story and what led him to be in the career he's in. And then the 2 music videos are ones that he's created to help hopefully prevent a suicide of another teen or adult. And then for our students or parents, if they need somebody to talk to, they can click on the beanbag, and that leads them over to our counseling center. So these are our counselors' Bitmojis. The goal is I'm working with them to get their own little Bitmoji classroom set up with their own contact information or resources that are specific to each building level. So their Bitmoji will link to that. But in the meantime, we have both the link and the number for the suicide hotline, Lines for Life, and then the Marion Youth and Family Crisis. And then I also have a couple like headspace meditation, calming activities that our students or parents can kind of just zone out if they're in a really dark space to kind of get them into that. And then How Are You Feeling leads to a video that Justin was explaining for Ruler, because it is something we're using. And so that links to, if you have an opportunity, I would encourage you to watch it. It's just a short one, but too long to play here. That just explains what Ruler is and how effective it is. And then the next place I want to talk about is Ruler and Second Steps. Justin kind of hit on this. That's his Bitmoji right there. And then his room. So this leads again to that link or the video that explains Ruler. These are the PDF of Second Steps, both in English and in Spanish. And if you click on that, it will load up the PDF in a readable format for you. And same thing with Ruler, these will make bigger. And then this is a living document. That's the really cool thing about this Bitmoji classroom is if I need to make a change to it, it's effective immediately. So as soon as I make the change on my end, it happens up here. So as soon as Justin or the counselors or Superintendent Caden or myself find a resource that we're like, this has to be on the website, I can put it in there, make it fit with the theme, and then it's active and ready for our students to utilize and parents. Did you want to say anything more about Ruler and Second Steps?
Yeah, the PDFs are really great summaries of Ruler and Sex Respect. They're designed for parents to kind of explain what we're teaching in the classroom. And the Ruler one not only explains what Ruler stands for, but the second page explains the 4 anchor tools, which I mentioned was that charter, that agreement. Mood meter is the other tool. Meta moment, building that space between something happening and your reaction to it, finding a way to take a breath, or step back, or whatever it is, building that skill, that meta moment before we make a decision that might damage a relationship or damage ourselves in some cases. And then the final one explains is that the blueprint, which is a conflict resolution tool. It's almost a scripted way to solve a conflict that it requires empathy to see how somebody might have felt in that moment, reflective, in a safe way away from each other, so that when we meet together, you have an understanding of what the other person might have gone through and how they felt about the situation in order to repair that relationship. So it's a pretty great tool. And so I mentioned earlier the WESD. I've been working with Holly Belton at the ESD quite a bit. She helps us. She's our contact for Ruler. Gets us the materials we need, those mood meters you see in schools, that kind of stuff. We've got some ordered for the high school. But also I've been doing a lot of things, working with the regional team. So all the counties that include the WESD, it's Yamhill, Marion, and both things. Mental health providers and employees from those districts are all meeting together and working together to develop kind of a scope and sequence of social emotional skills, so that we will have from K to 12, what should a kindergarten be able to do in those competencies you saw in that book? Like what does self-awareness look like for a kindergarten? And what does it look like for a first grader and sixth grader? So that we have sort of an anchor tool to refer to when we're assessing how the kids are doing. Also working with them on something called DESA. It's an assessment tool where a teacher does observations of their students, answers a couple of questions, and then it produces recommendations of this student might be low in maybe social awareness skills. And so it would recommend some lessons that might help that student improve those skills. Just like we assess with mathematics and English, we should also be assessing with social emotional skills to see what's missing and what we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So as you can see, there's some, we feel some urgency to support our kids, our students, and to be able to support our parents as well. And so this is, now that this is up and live, we're going to start marketing it, promoting it for our students and for our parents, and then we're going to be promoting the class. So if we can get a lot of participation for our first class, then it will stay on our site as a recorded thing that any parent can access, and then we'll look to do another one after that. And we'll see how that first one goes, and then continue to add as we go. But we're also going to be listening, like what kind of classes do our parents want to hear about? So in May, when we have our Latino Parent Club meeting, we're going to be asking the question, what classes would you find most beneficial? And then we can get these in Spanish as well. And have one, like we've heard before, bullying, something on bullying, what that is. What is bullying? How do you see it? What do you do how do you prevent it? All that kind of thing. They have a whole class on that, and feel that that's going to be beneficial to our families as well. So not a cure-all for everything by any means, but it's definitely trying to put all our resources in one area and make it interactive enough so that people who want to go there and access it, play around with it, and then hopefully make a difference.
Brad, what are your plans on marketing it, and how you're going to reach us out to the public and to the parents and the rest of them? I mean, I guess that's the one thing, having it up there is great, but I don't know what our percentage of participation is in our students to parents to everybody that actually accesses our website and actually uses it. I mean, if we tie that into some of this other stuff that we're kind of reading right now, if it doesn't download the first 10 seconds or whatever, 15 seconds, whatever it was, and they're off to a new site or new direction. So that's one of the concerns that I would see with that. So.
Well, I think when it comes to supporting mental health of our students, we need to approach it in a variety of ways, right? So this is one way. We need to always look for different ways. Counselors have been doing outreach and sending things home, but this is another way to do it. But to answer your question, parentguidance.org, who's helping with the class, they actually take on the task of promoting it. So we give them, our parent lists and so forth, and they put together flyers and they promote it and get it going. So that really helps us. And then I've asked the WESD communications group to help us also with how to launch it, how to market it. So I'm going to be meeting with them here soon to be able to give them the what it is we're trying to do, so that their professionals can help us market it as well. In the meantime, our team will be getting it out into the website, on Facebook, all the different social media that we have. But we're going to be learning from the ESD marketing team the best ways to look at.
Thank you. Chris?
In reading through chapter 3 on SEL, I learned that social emotional behaviors are probably more profound in today, in society today, especially post-COVID, And the part that really was always in the back of my head in reading through this is that we're focusing on the students and taking care of their needs, but didn't get much into the trauma that exists within the cohort of the family itself, the things that families have been experiencing, especially post-COVID, So when Becca's talking about this, and we're talking about this tonight, I see that our district has already advanced itself to a parent center for resources. But I know we're an educational institution, and our main task, our main focus is to provide a positive educational experience for all of our children. But I think that it's important that we're in the discovery processes of the whys when it comes to the points of why children are acting out. Not that we're supposed to be policing, the parent, the environment where the child itself lives and dwells. But bullying happens at school, it also happens at home. But when it comes to food insecurities, things of that sort, the traumas that the kids are experiencing and those traumas that exist within the core of their home life, is this going to be able to help offset those traumatic situations through counseling process? Do the parents have helps as well that the school can actually contribute informational resources to the families so that they can get the whole family itself to get through whatever trauma it is that exists over and beyond what the educational piece is providing through what we're doing. Am I making sense, ladies and gentlemen?
I think so much of that work is already being done through our counselors. So there's so, and through our contracts with Trillium. There's so many conversations and support resources, where to go, connections to different community outreach services that are happening on a daily basis with our counseling team. This is just a place to kind of marshal some of those resources into a, if you're having issues, if you're having crisis, make sure to reach out to our counselors, make sure that here's the teen suicide hotline. And here it's really ready at our fingertips rather than not having anything at all. And hope that kids go to their counselor. So this is just another way of approaching it. But our counselors, I think, are very much already pretty deep into supporting students and families to the best of their ability.
It's a deep discussion. It really is. We'd like to be able to touch every finger. And I'm grateful that our school district is doing what they're doing right now for SEL very much. And I appreciate it.
Yeah, along with yours, Tracy, there is, I understand where you're heading with that. What it is it's adding a resource, because unfortunately it's like even a medical situation or a mental situation where you have that, you gotta kind of be your own advocate in a lot of those things, and you have to have a direction and an avenue. And I think with opening up an avenue like this is gonna give more resources out there, and maybe doing it in a less offensive, or some people not wanting to air their situation, and making it in a fun situation gives them an avenue to do that. So hopefully the advocacy that we're doing there is going to present that more avenues for that, so that we can be our own advocates, or the parents can be the own advocate, and the kids and those things. That's kind of how I see it. But it opens up another resource, and unfortunately it's if you've been down the mental health thing with that. I mean, I've dealt with it for 31 years, so. It's near and dear to me because I continue to deal with it and those things. So it's, not giving up. And that's a good resource where somebody's not getting to a point where they're just giving up and this is over. It's a ongoing thing and giving them resources and different places to go and some of those things is a great tool.
Most of the time, we're not responsible for the trauma that's going on with these children or in their homes. We surely can be an advocate to them and give them direction on where to go. And I think this is just a perfect tool we can use, try and help these children overcome that so that they can be successful. School or even in life because of that. If we could prevent one suicide or even one bullying, it's worth it all. So, I appreciate Justin, Becca, what you guys have done. Under these guys, Brad, and the leadership there, and it's great. It's great work. Is there any way that we can tell how many times that how many hits are on that website?
There is, but.
No.
There is a way for us to see how.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see how many times it's used.
What data we're getting from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like triage is what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
Because the triage part of it, if we don't see that, we're not gonna be able to see the effect that it's gonna have on the rest of the teaching environment, classroom environments and all that other stuff.
Yeah. Okay, thank you again, Justin.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Okay, we're gonna move on to financial report by Hattie.
Another month is gone by and we're still holding steady at the little over $1 million in fund balance. It's just an estimate at this point. But I did want to bring to your attention on page 54 on human resources. So we now have a human resources department that we didn't actually budget for. Okay, so you'll see us in the red right there. It's almost to the bottom.
We don't have red on ours.
Oh, you don't? It's black and white. Okay, sorry, it's in the brackets.
Can you tell us what number?
4643.
Yes, yes, it's human resources 2643. And if you look up above, we kind of split duties of one person, two people into different roles and responsibilities. And so at this point, we're accounting for it correctly versus how we budgeted for it when we didn't foresee having this human resources department. So I just want to bring that to your attention. And the next thing I want to bring to your attention is on page 59 for Solient. Solient is a vendor. We are we've hired an LRC employee through Solient. So this is what they charge us. It's not necessarily what the person makes. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. It's under Fund 215.
Are there any other questions for Hattie?
I have one that came up the other day. It's since 2000, it's been since 2009 since I've really been active in constructing brand new residential homes. And we may have touched bases on this, but I just don't recall, and I'm not asking for an answer tonight, but there's energy credits that are out there that are available to residential. I don't know if it's available to municipal. So when it comes to the upgrades that we've done to seismic, things of that sort, heating, lighting, there's energy credits that are available. But again, I don't know if they're available to our district. Have you,
We do have a
Remember?
program, yeah, we have a program right now. It's through Pool School,
okay,
and that we receive between $1,700 and $1,900 back for some upgrading that we did on heating units.
Okay.
And so, yeah, that's still ongoing.
okay,
And so that's something to look into for the future if we do updates in that manner, and just reaching out to Pool School to see if what our upgrades are, if they qualify for credits
okay.
to get that back, absolutely.
Well, if we ever touch bases in the near future on replacing any windows at the elementary school or whatnot, there's also window replacement credits that the school district could potentially take advantage of, not just with lighting and heating, but also with glazing.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. I have a network of people that I network with at all times. And if there's any questions I have, someone in the districts in the state of Oregon would have an answer to.
Sure.
So, yeah, I that way. Yep.
okay. Thank you.
Questions?
Yes, I have one off of our, kind of off our sample sheet.
Yeah.
As we prepare for the budget meeting for the 2022-2023 year budget, how and when will the documents be available both to the committee and the community?
It's going to be available on April 29th. It'll be available to our budget committee and our community, and it'll also be posted on our website. So it according to budget law, it has to be available 10 days prior to our meeting.
And when is our first meeting?
I think it's the 11th, if I'm not mistaken. May 11th, I think.
Finance committee meeting May 16th.
That's finance committee, not budget.
Are there any other questions for Hattie? Now we'll go to Brad, our superintendent update.
Good evening, Chair Comrade, members of the board meeting. In a small district with few resources and aging facilities, it's always a challenge to be able to pay for the ongoing needs of the district. In my tenure here, I've worked closely with our maintenance team in identifying all of the needs, placing them in order of importance, and looking for ways to pay and get them fixed. We have Jen sent give you a copy of the report in front of you there. This is the updated facilities plan. And just so you get an idea of the needs we are facing and how we approach our facilities needs, our safety committees, together with our maintenance, custodial, and groundskeeping staff, and our administrators, make recommendations based on these needs. We then prioritize them based on the recommendations of our maintenance staff into 3 categories: immediate, necessary, and desired. Immediate needs involve student and staff safety often, and necessary items need to be fixed, but they can wait a year or 2. As you can see, all the items that are on this list fall into immediate and necessary. When a new concern arises, we add it to the list so maintenance can have a plan going forward. I have regular meetings with them, and we go over this plan routinely and discuss updates and progress. Last month, I brought to your attention the school bleachers. Kathy is submitting paperwork to ODE for approval to use ESSER funds, and once we have that approval, RFP will go out that way. I have a question for you tonight that involves our loan. Currently, we have $380,435 in that loan. Would you like to use that loan to pay for some of our facilities needs, or would you prefer that we pay it back to the bank? If we move forward with the loan paying for additional facilities needs, we could possibly address the HVAC system at JHS first, since the price tag is considerable, and I'm not sure when we will have the funding to get that fixed. At some point in the next 2 years, we will need to address the HVAC system. Right now, our current system is very inefficient. It doesn't heat the building well, and it costs the district a lot of money. During the cold months, for example, our electricity bill ranges from $10,000 to $12,000 a month, and the building is not well heated at that time. If we decide to use the loan for the HVAC system, we would have to have the system engineered and then put the scope out for bids, or we need to go down the path of an alternative contracting to solicit design build proposals from firms that can provide both engineering and construction. One additional challenge of having this project done is that the firms doing this kind of work are stretched thin, and nothing like this would be immediate. We've reached out to Systems West engineers, and they said that not only they, but all the other firms are backlogged, and so it would be a while. Adam Mandrix from Systems West Engineers, he asked what it might cost to complete a study and a design. And the study would determine if the existing boiler plant and associated distribution were adequately sized and operating correctly. The study fee would be $7,000. They would then provide a design for the new boiler plant, similar to the Jefferson High School. The design fee would be $11,000. So a study and design would ROM would be close to $18,000 to $20,000. So this brings me back to the question at hand. It would be helpful to know if the board wants to explore the use of the loan funds for capital improvements, or if it does not. And if it does, then we will continue with the discussion about the HVAC system and or other items on the list. If it does not, then we will table the HVAC discussion for the time being and move on. I have more things to talk about, but you want to just circle back on that one at the end? Or do you want to talk about that piece now?
What do you guys want to do? You want to talk about it now, or you want to let Brad finish?
Well, we can talk about it now, because I want to really pay attention to what Brad has to say on the rest of the stuff.
Okay, so does anybody have any comments on that?
I'm going to make a comment that with respects to what Brad said about available contracting resources, that statement truly does exist, along with the fact that if it aligns with meeting and replace any of the heating units or the system in and of itself, the residential sector, and I can't speak to the commercial sector, but the residential sector itself is suffering tremendously on acquiring heating units, whether they be gas or electric units. Time from contract signing to time of equipment delivery is ranging anywhere from 3 months up to as much as 6 months. So when I hear that during the cold weather events happen, our energy consumption is upwards of $15,000 to $17,000 in a given month. Would that be campus wide, or is that just the high school?
12 to 13 that I quoted is just nice.
Okay, so that is huge. And if we have the opportunity and the ability to remedy that through financial resources that we have currently at our disposal, I think it is a good financial stewardship that we look into whether we're going to utilize that now or decide to continue to operate the way we are. Of course, keep in mind that, and I don't want to make this into something bigger than what it needs to be, that loan was supposed to, in its entirety, go towards expenditures that we felt were realized in the school bond process. Over expenditures, exactly. I'm very grateful that we didn't have to spend all that money through the savings that were part of everything that everybody else did to generate that savings. But some of our community might also have the opinion that that money needs to be, if it's there and it's available, it should be put back into things that the community wanted in the first place. The bond committee people. So, it's a big discussion, but we've got some important things that as a board, we need to take into consideration the cost savings reasons, as well as making sure heating systems don't go out and experience school closures.
So the initial part that we would be talking about today, if we thought that this would be a good thing, would be proceeding to allocate funds to have someone come in and do the study and put together a possible plan. And that would be about 20,000 is what you're saying.
Just for the high school.
Just,
Yes.
it's just high school, but they're the ones that are having the heating issue
No,
with the
no.
building not being warm. Running so high in the winter. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I know there's programs for that too, but I don't know how they play into that too, as far as, you know. Might be something that I prefer to have looked into to make sure there isn't some kind of program along with some. It needs to be residential or something. You know,
I'm
I'm not sure about the rest of it. I mean, so I guess I guess my question to be asked is when we're gonna pay for this analysis and everything else, they're gonna be looking at our heat loss and everything else and stuff that they're gonna do a complete study on the building. As far as play a part in it. I mean, lots of stuff involved in it.
Yeah, we'll have a good idea after the study of what the price tag is going to be. 'Cause right now, we're getting pretty wide estimates just based off of, it's like it might be this kind of a job. And so until we have a study done, we won't know exactly, or we know what necessarily exactly, but it'll be close, much closer once that's done. So we can have a conversation around that.
I take it that this study would be performed by a heating and air conditioning engineering firm, Brad, rather than a company that, unless the company in and of itself has their own engineering department, but is that the direction that we're looking at this point?
Yes, there are different firms out there. We can obviously engage several of them, but Systems West Engineering is one of them. And they're the ones who gave the input about this is what it's going to be in terms of time. They're booked up right now. They're several months out. And this was a couple months ago. So, you know, I'm not sure. We have to re-engage with them and find out what their time frame was. And then, but yes, they would be doing, they have the capacity to do the work.
Is this something that we could potentially pull Ricardo Versera or other resource avenues? Potentially, or unless you've already done that.
Other resource avenues, I don't know. Ricardo, I think is probably at the thinking of based on what he helped us with Systems West engineers, contacted them. The correspondence we got back from them was they would say they would have to go to that first step in terms of evaluating first before.
I'm just talking about the timeline, Brad. That's all that was alluding to. You know, this company is several months out.
Yeah, well, this guy said, Adam said that all companies that he knew of were in the same situation. And we could definitely call them once and find out, but that was the recommendation, or not the recommendation, but the comment. Of this engineering.
I agree with Mr. Rowe about thinking we start the process right now. I mean, I'm just sitting here thinking for these kids coming into school, I mean, we gotta give them shelter. Without shelter, heat, or food, any one of those those are pretty big distractions to learning, so. And I do agree with contractors out there. I think we'd be lucky to have this done by the next boat season there.
I agree that that's basically a necessity that we should move forward with on. I think I'd probably want to reach out to more than just the one person. I'd like to see probably 3 at least, you know, with contacts and get ideas of what they're saying the process is, so that the process all looks the same and similar and everything else, and the costs are similar and the same.
Well, RFI.
I'd like to move to authorize up to $25,000 from the loan to complete an analysis of the heating system at the high school.
Okay, with the motion on the floor, is there a second?
I will second that.
Moved and seconded to allow up to $25,000 from the loan to do an analysis on the heating at the high school. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is there any further discussion?
Put it out in the form of an RFI.
Do you have to put the bid out for an RFI just for $25,000? We have to do that in a bid.
I'd have to look.
But we have to do it correctly, however way it needs to be done. So that's- Okay, any other discussion?
I agree with my fellow board member, we need, multiple responses to that.
Thank you. So next,
We need to vote.
Councilman McGann, correct? Okay,
Taking the money
moved and
aside and
seconded. We're gonna call to a vote. Tracy?
Aye.
Fred?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Okay,
I,
chair votes aye. Okay,
I got one more for Brad. The board chair will allow me. First page, cosmetic, new engine, team is determined this is not a need.
in terms of a structural.
Okay.
Not a, it's a need for a cosmetic, we'd like to replace it. Okay. But it's not something that was, we, at first were afraid of.
Inherent.
Right.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you.
I was approached by our mayor last week, a couple weeks ago. The city is very interested in leasing the land in the corner of North and Third, elementary school, that little patch of grass there, and turning it into a park. They would pay for the equipment, the fencing, and the upkeep of the land. They'd like to lease it. And so we need to talk about it with the council. We need to bring a more formal proposal from the city together, but wanted to let you know that that's been an offer and to get your initial thoughts.
I just learned about it. At the auction.
Okay.
Yeah, I was approached at the auction about it too by Mike Myers, who said it might be coming to the board on that part of it from there. I guess there's more information needed, which what would be, you know, related to it, how does it legally affect and you know, with the money we've already spent with the amphitheater and that, what's the size we're talking about here and some of those things. I mean, I guess that would be.
the grass area at the elementary school, on the parking area.
Yeah.
That's the area.
Just
They're
that
talking
area.
Just that area. And in addition to what Brad shared, Mike said that the city will carry the insurance on the property.
Yeah. That's kind of what he had said and stuff, and talking about water and all the other things in the water park and some other stuff where the city would, that would be an expense on them.
You got that, get some more details.
But you're interested in going forward with getting more information.
Sure.
It's not a dead on the work.
Yeah.
I'll do that. Wanted to announce tonight that we've hired Katrina Womack to be our permanent student services director. She has done a masterful job this year building her team and working with schools and parents. We're excited to have her serve in this capacity. Wanted you to know. Wednesday staff appreciation. I'm going to read the message that Kathy sent to staff today. Your school board administrators want you to know how much we appreciate you and all that you do for our students. Please join us for staff appreciation barbecue this Wednesday, April 13th from 2 to 3:30. Staff meetings have been postponed so that everyone can come and enjoy good food and some JSD camaraderie. Since the weather is not going to cooperate, we will serve and eat at the old JMS cafeteria. So we're still on rain or snow, but we're gonna move it into the cafeteria. It's gonna be good. So thank you for all your help. Strategic planning. Now that COVID has subsided in our district, the administrative team has been spending a lot of time and energy planning next year. We are creating a living strategic plan that has us dividing up the year into 90-week segments and assigning achievement goals to those segments. We're currently in our first 9-week segment, and the elementary school, middle school are actively engaged in building foundational social emotional systems to support students and beginning to look at data to inform instruction. Both initiatives will lay a foundation for the fall. The high school is in the middle of the accreditation process and looking, which is huge. I don't know how many years we go between accreditation, but every 4 or 5 years, 5 years. But we're in that process right now. They're in the middle of that process and looking at its master schedule for next year and streamlining its systems and building plans on how to serve students' social emotional needs and how to increase rigor, relevance, and relationships. The plans schools are making have been shared with their leadership teams and will be shared with the entire staff soon. I too will be coming out to schools in May and early June to discuss the district's vision moving forward. Once my presentation is completed, I will also make sure to share it with the board as well. Simply put, the students of today have different needs and experiences and experience different challenges than we did when we were kids. And they are facing a future that will require a different set of skills and approach to learning. We need to prepare our students for jobs that have not yet been created. We need to give them the ability to problem solve and work together as a team. They need to be independent thinkers. They need to be creative. They need to be able to sift through a lot of misleading information and make wise decisions for their own lives. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics report on the fastest growing occupations, according to the book, The Evolution of Education by Willard Daggett, 81% of job growth will be in the service providing sectors. Healthcare and social assistance jobs will account for over 1/3 of the jobs added. Success in these roles will often rely heavily on strong interpersonal and non-cognitive skills. The jobs of the future will require agility and fluency with data and robust analytical skills. Those who occupy these roles will also need to know how to take or advise action with the data they collect, monitor, investigate. So the question I ask my leaders is is our current system preparing students to be successful in the 21st century world of work? How are we building a world-class education for Jefferson students? Gone are the days of rote memorization and worksheets. Gone are the days of teachers standing or sitting, talking in a class for an hour uninterrupted. It's no longer about an hour lecture or compliant children and seat time. It's about engaging the mind and getting students excited about learning. It's about setting high expectations and supporting all students to reach those expectations. Students need and want to be challenged and inspired this way. To be successful, we need a K-12 system that builds from elementary to middle to high. It needs to be well coordinated at each level, it needs to inform the other. We need to identify the key standards to teach at each level, with the idea of going slower and deeper in their learning rather than merely just covering the standards. And then we need to monitor the growth of our students over time and have our teachers work together in teams to look at their data and make decisions based on it. We need to provide enrichment opportunities, and we need to support our students on how to interact socially and monitor their own anxiety and struggles. When I say we need to offer our students a world-class education, that's a preview of what I'm talking about. Much of this work was stalled due to COVID, and I'll look forward to having a year next year where we can focus on putting the building blocks of this vision together. So more on this to come. That's my report for tonight.
Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. So we'll be back at 20:25.
I took it out as personal instead of. Thank you.
Yeah.
So do you think we need to know that? I do, I need to talk. I don't know, I heard so start to. Yeah, 2 to 3:30. I figure I'll try to take about an hour to go myself, but it's yes. So you're with about another service in the morning. Get the cook and
Well, you had to get a.
I suggest. Nice to have.
So he used to David and I. It's okay, I gotta make sure we can do it here, get these two guys on.
They are all repurposing your life. There'll be a whole lot of assistance at that grade, but about a half an hour later. So people can be here. Doesn't take long to set up. Yeah, no special. It's another one. Is that other degrees inside. Stuff in there. The only hard part I'm having is deciding what temperature full goes on that. It's got
Yeah.
When are people here at the school? I have an item here at the school that I purchased at the auction that I can't get out. So I bought the settee.
It's fine, going doors where you have just a regular grill.
Well, that's true.
It's been about 14 hours. It sounds really good.
Okay.
My stomach monitor.
The gym.
Okay.
Yeah.
So get your house.
Yes.
Okay.
You do that.
I can do that.
Okay. Okay.
And then have you reached out to Dan or?
I talked to him at the auction and talked about it. And I got my name and number. There. So
He was at the building today.
Five, six, six.
All right, I will.
So I have a feedback.
Yep. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I will reach out to Dan and ask him and I will show for the boosters and see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I can get out here.
Yes. Coming out this morning.
That's good.
Thank you.
Okay. Back to session here. New business superintendent goals and evaluation, and that's actually part of what Fred and I are going to do when we do the contract. We're going to talk about the evaluation of goals. We're going to come up with agreement with you, Brad, on goals for next year. And anyway, Fred and I are going to meet and meet with the representative of Brad. The contract, and we'll come back to you for the next meeting. Okay, the next one is a range of, yeah, what was that one? Okay, so on B, there's arranging a listening session related to the policies on the weapons and firearms in the schools. And we'd like to have a session and invite the community and get some input and just hear from people what they think about it. And so the reason it's on the agenda is I need to come up with a date. So if you guys can look on your calendars, we'll come up with a date before the next board meeting, and we can have a kind of work session, listening session. We'll go from there.
Are we dealing with just KGBB or is it going?
No, it's KGBB and JFCJ.
Okay. How much time, Brad, do you believe that you need to give the community notice to this so that they can schedule it themselves?
At least 2 weeks.
Okay.
That board meeting for May
Nine.
9th. Okay. I don't think so.
And to, so to speak. I can move some other things around. It's nothing inherent on mine.
What about Monday, the 25th? Leave it.
Works for me.
The afternoon for me.
Would it be prudent to do so on a weekend day?
Weekend day.
Yes.
So tell me what weekend, not the 25th, or no, 25th.
17th, not the weekend of the
It's
17th.
Yeah, that's Easter.
That would be the 23rd, excuse me, the weekend of the 23rd, 24th, or the weekend of the 30th, 1st.
I can't do the 30th or first, but I can't do the 24th. What do you guys think about a weekend?
Would give the community the best chance of,
Brad shaking his head.
Well, I'm just thinking for staff that wanted to participate, it would probably be easier to do it on a weekday than a weekend. And then that weekend, the 23rd, 24th, and the next weekend.
The next weekend you're gone 30th?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
do you think we'd have better luck with an in-person event or something on Facebook? I know I've received a lot of feedback, positive and negative, about things that I've posted on Facebook that this district deals with.
I think,
You mean as a meeting on Facebook or just?
Discussion, asking for opinions.
I'd rather have it up there. I personally, but what the rest do you think?
Is there a chance, I agree with Brad, it's gonna be hard for the staff to
Yeah, I
participate on the weekend, where it's gonna be easier for the community, and I would definitely like to hear from both.
A listening session is not a debate. A listening session is a chance to hear opinions from patrons, staff, and board members as well. But it's a presentation. We make no decisions at that time.
Yeah,
We're just listening
Right.
to hear what people have to say. And if people choose to send in their comments in advance on paper, they can be read to the group.
Mhm.
So can you, does the 25th work for you, or do you have a commitment that evening?
I can do that in the afternoon,
In the afternoon? Can you give me a time frame?
past 2 o'clock.
I would suggest that we do this at a later time in the day.
Like 6 o'clock?
Yes, so as many of our constituents who put us in these seats.
Yeah.
Have the ability to bring a voice to it.
Does that work for staff, Brad?
Yes and no. It does in the sense that anytime after school does, although for those who then go home after they leave here, then they have to come back. We just may not have the participation. I was thinking about having it a little earlier to close to when they are out of school.
4 o'clock?
Well, wait a minute,
You know about their comments, just.
Yeah,
be
they can
read
write
to us,
comments
they can
about
put
it
their
too,
comments to it, we can read that. You know, I mean, that's just, I'm just thinking it's gonna be a little too quick. As far as turn from the, public and everything else, I mean, in this turnaround time to get the notice out, get everything else out there, and then have them actually, I think,
So are you thinking more like the first week of May?
well, I think that we gotta get it out there further, just so that there's enough time for response, for write-ins, for all the other stuff that are out there. That's just an opinion. And then look at what we're all looking at our schedule, trying to fit it in right now. Well, some of them have just as busy schedules, and that's all I'm throwing out there, so. If we're trying to get this done before the next board meeting, or whether we have to put it out to the following board meeting. All I'm saying is if this is if it's a real heartburn for everybody, that they'll have time to respond, they'll have time to.
So when we have our policy meetings from 3 to 5, that is, a good time for our administrators. They can come here right after work. I know that they would like to participate. staff would be able to walk over, and I know that with this subject in particular, it might be one that people really want to participate in person. So if we did something similar, like a 3 to 5 or a 3:30 to 5, or whatever, we might get better participation. And then we can also do the write-in piece too, and we can promote both. But it would just truly like be like a policy.
Fred, how does 3:30 in the afternoon work for you, like on May 2nd? That's 3 weeks out. I think that's, as the duty talked about, I think that's enough time, don't you think?
I think that's plenty at that point. I just, that were decision to move forward with it.
So, Tracy, how does 3:30 on a Monday work for you? I know it all depends on the weather.
Yeah, any day works for me, but I'm not thinking about me. Because I can make me do what he needs to do to be here.
Yeah.
I am specifically thinking about the individual, since this has been brought up for discussion. I thought it's a very good idea. And you've got families out there that put each and every one of us in these seats. Okay, that's what we're responsible for. We're responsible for our boardsmanship to this community. We're also responsible to our staff and everybody else. So we need to be inclusive. Okay. So, you know, most people work until 3:30, 4, 5, and 6. So I just, when our board makes a decision on what time to do this, I'm okay with whatever time, but we need to take into consideration all elements.
3:30 to 5:30.
I just want the most participation we can is what I'm after.
I have one other thought. That would be to do 2. One would be a 3:30 to 4:30 for staff.
You in my head.
And the others and later, you know, like on a Monday evening or something at 6
Well,
with parents.
You know what? I like that idea. So let's go back to April. And, yeah, we can do the 25th at 3:30 for the staff and everybody to come in. And then we can do it on May 2nd at 6 o'clock, so our community can come in.
Sorry, what date? The 6th?
They can come to either one.
Yes.
Yeah, either the
25th.
the 25th at 3:30
Yeah.
or May 2nd
Uh-huh.
at 6.
Hour and a half event or 2 hours.
Yeah,
event.
hour and a half event. I mean, you know, if there's a ton of people, we'll listen to it.
Yeah, we don't have to shut it down.
No, because we're not gonna
listening
discuss
session.
with them. We just want to hear what their thought is, and then we'll make a decision at the next board meeting.
Okay.
How does that sound?
That feels pretty.
We're giving them more than one opportunity at that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good idea.
What we could do is post it so that letting them know the 2 different times, so that if public wanted to come the first time at 3:30, they would be involved and be there too. Just give them options.
So I would recommend that you do a letter or something and post one at the post office or one at the bank. Those are probably the 2 most common places in Jefferson. that people go to. I don't know, the bank talking about weapons, how will that go?
Yeah.
I think we're gonna post it like in very broad terms.
Yeah.
Be able to talk about, you know, the policy, because otherwise it gets into, we don't want to lead anybody in a certain way. So-
Yeah, no,
So
that's
just
fine.
like general.
Are you gonna be posting the policy as an included document?
I think we need to have that policy available when they get here. No, I don't
Yes.
think we should post the policy.
So the first part of it, they can read over it.
They can read it over on, it's online, but we'll have that policy.
Yeah, and at the end of the letter, you could say, if you want to be prepared, you know.
Yeah.
Pull up the policy on the website. Maybe all those will finally get to our website.
Well, if we send out a letter to our families, if we send out a letter to our families, we can always include the policies and attachments.
Yeah. That's true. Okay. Anything else on that? So we're okay with that, right? So we're gonna do. The 25th at 3:30, the 25th of April, and May 2nd at 6.
May 2nd, you said?
Yes.
Are you gonna send those out? I mean, as far as a reminder to everybody.
And Jennifer,
Okay, I just want to make sure.
we all got, yeah. Fred's entered it. Okay, gonna move on to old business resolution for limiting COVID-19 vaccine clinic. And this is the resolution. I hope you guys have it with you. This was actually presented by Fred, so I'm gonna, we talked about it once before. And it was actually written wrong, and so it didn't pass, but it didn't fail either, so Fred rewrote it, and yeah, so we're here to discuss it. So I guess first, did we get any letters from the community on this?
There is comments on Facebook. I put it up on Facebook. Try to be as non-biased as possible. Read those if you'd like.
Sure.
And I don't know if these are parents or community members. I like the convenience of having a vaccine clinic on school grounds. I definitely think it's not okay to vaccinate children without parental consent. If they make it like the COVID clinic, vaccine clinic, a parent had to be present and sign a form. I think this is the best way to do it. Another comment, different person. Me personally feel it is a political bias pushing the agenda, ruling through fear. Community outreach programs should be held in a community setting, off school grounds, using taxpayer dollars to provide convenience to staff is not our responsibility, since majority of those members are not tax contributing members of the Jefferson community. Vaccination, another person, don't know if they're a parent or community. Vaccine clinics have absolutely zero place on school grounds. At this point, families that have chosen to vaccinate their children would have already done so. Convenience wouldn't even be a factor because you would make that happen for your child if you believe it is best for them. A parent here, as a parent with 2 high school daughters, I would have a huge issue with them getting any medication from the school, including the vaccine, without my consent. Starting at the age, and I'm reading exactly what it says, starting at the age of 14, it is law that they do not have to get consent. If something happened to a kid and the parent didn't know to tell the doctor, that's a huge liability. I personally know people who have had extreme reactions, permanent nerve damage, and trouble walking. It's a family choice. I'm not saying I'm for or against kids getting it. My concern is for the parents not knowing. Anyway, that is my 2 cents. This person says, before providing my comments, full disclosure, I no longer have a child in school and I'm pro-vaccination. My concern is that unbeknownst to adults outside family members, some kids are afraid of needles and as a result have adverse reactions. I'm not sure if it's the body reacting due to fear of needles or if it appears because of the adverse reaction previously experienced by the child. Either way, the adverse reaction being that they turn white as a sheet and nearly pass out. They become so weak that sitting down is not enough. They must lay down. Blood pressure appears to go down, though my chosen have not been monitored for blood pressure declines. These such children need one-on-one monitoring. I have a son that went through this as a child and my grandson, my affected son's nephew, both of which have experienced this adverse reaction. In fact, if the school decides to continue with an in-school clinic for vaccinating children, this is something the school needs to keep in mind. Screening for this phenomenon is important as there could be liability. That's all I have.
Anybody else have any comments on this? Brad?
You've all seen my letter that I submitted, so I said it all there, but I'll just say simply put, I don't think it makes sense to prevent my ability to react to a crisis and support our staff, provide a service to our community. Schools have a long history dating back to the 1830s of partnering with school districts on these very things, being they have a history of also doing different polio vaccines and different vaccines in the past. We had many people very appreciative of our efforts. We served 144 in the last one, and the majority of them were our staff. We hope to not have a need for another clinic, but we can't predict the future. And I don't see the wisdom of trying to fix a sink without a wrench. I think there's no evidence of fear around teens getting out without their parent permission. There's no evidence of that. And in fact, the people that we saw and helped were people in our community who needed, who probably had difficult access in getting the vaccine. We had a lot of elderly people here and minority families. So I'll stop there, but I think it's because we don't know what the next thing may be, I think it's prudent to not pass a resolution that would limit my ability to do that.
Any other comments, Jay? Well, when Fred sent this to me, I sent it to WES, or not WES, OSBA, and I had them look over it. And they said it was well written, Fred. So the first time she responded to me, she says, you probably don't need a resolution, you just need to talk to your the superintendent and come in with agreement with him. And I said, well, our superintendent is for vaccination clinics at our school. And he says that Brad actually wrote me a comment on that he thought it was part of his, that he thinks it's his part of his responsibility as a superintendent to allow that. And so I wrote exactly what Brad wrote to me. I wrote it to her and said, this is the thought. And she said, well, he's exactly right. It is up to him to do it. He said, but if you do pass a resolution, then he would have to adhere to that. But she says it is his right to be able to have a vaccination clinic if he sees the need for it in the school. So I did not talk to her anymore after that. I just got the information. And I did want to respond to what she said, what OSBA said about that. So is there a motion on the floor for this resolution?
I guess I don't know what the motion needs to say that we vote on it.
The motion is that we accept, I guess it'd be number 22 22.03.003.
A motion that we pass a resolution number 2021-2022 a resolution prohibiting the use of district resources or property for COVID-19 vaccine plans.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any other further discussion?
I read everything that everybody had submitted to us fellow board members, and I understand how appreciative and how grateful our staff members have all been in regards to this. And the service that it provided. I did not do my due diligence on reaching out to other school districts and finding out if they know COVID vaccination clinics, so I am still uninformed in that area. I still believe that we are an educational institution, and I believe that we have advanced in technology and emergency services within the confines of the city. I believe that partnering as a school district with the city is an important piece of relationship between the school district and community, whether it be the fire department or the community center, things of that sort.
The city for a park,
Pardon?
the city for a park.
Yeah. We're doing that, we've been doing that. I signed on to the school board to manage the affairs as a operating board member, along with 4 other board members, to make sure that our students are educated and protected. And this COVID vaccination, in the minds of many, is a part of protecting. We're getting ready to deal with 2 different policies that deal with protecting or not protecting. And we're going to come across these in different areas. So I guess the question is the school board responsible for protecting children also? And in what capacity? I, professionally speaking, am a general contractor. That's where my profession lies. That's where it sits, that's where it rests, and I don't represent that I'm anything other than that. Other than that, I have an educated mind, I have an opinion, but I also need to listen to the opinions of other people. It's not my job to have closed ears and rest upon what it is that I believe is right or wrong. I appreciate very much where people chime in on their thoughts and their feelings about how this school district runs and operates. And apparently there are some in the community that are for it. There are some in the community that are not for it. There are those that are within the school district that are for it. I did not see anything from members of the school district that weren't for it. So it brings us to a point. Are we doing the right thing in doing this? It's not about tying Brad's hands. Is that really where we've come to think? That it's in tying your hands? I don't think so. Whose job it is? I don't want to argue that. Whose job it is? I'm here to protect the welfare of the children. And I disagree as a school board member with the way that our legislators have set up laws that have allowed for our juvenile children to receive medical benefit without the knowledge of their parent. That's why I'm opposed to the school district having COVID vaccination clinics on our school grounds. That's what I have to say.
Ray, did you have something you want to say?
Yeah, you mind? No, I think it, since I'm the one that proposes, I think it might surprise some to find out that I take actually a little bit softer stance than Mr. Rowe. When I first came up with this resolution, I think we had the same intentions in mind of the, protecting the children. I'm myself fully vaccinated. I believe in vaccination. I think it's probably done a lot of good things for this district and world, let's face it. However, I do disagree as well with the notion that a child at the age 14 should be able to have anything medically happen to them without a parent's consent. And I originally wrote it with just that in mind, and then I come to find out that we can't do that. We can't say just kids can't get vaccinated. It's got to be all or nothing. And so that's why the verbiage of vaccination changed. I would like to say that I do support this resolution, but at the same time, we don't know what's coming up next, as Mr. Capener has said. And but I would, at the same time, I'd like to hope that as a board and as a district, we could maybe think outside the box a little bit and partner with the city if that's what it's been. I very much want to give the hardworking staff and district employees as easy as access if they should so choose to whatever future vaccines might come up. And I don't think it would be, I think this board would come together quick enough and to either make an exception to this or do some outside the box thinking where we didn't have to use district, make it less available to children and perhaps offsite and still open to that. But at this time, the way, according to the OSBA, I believe it was, that for the district, using district property or resources, that this is the only.
So did I understand you that said that you don't really even need a resolution?
No.
Okay, so I mean, that's, because when I look at this whole thing, it's when we say resources and property without the community and everything else and the taxpayers and everybody else, we have no resources or property. So we're not really using, we're using their property. Okay, I mean, because, that's what it is. Their taxes, their everything else pays for it. So to not let them have the opportunity to be able to use it in a way that keeps them safe and helps them and everything else is different. I think my own personal opinion is we throw the resolution out and we work with Capener and, Mr. Capener, the superintendent, on what future things might happen here. That we put a resolution in effect, we literally tie his hands. Okay, and if we're gonna tie his hands on that, well, how many more things are we gonna tie his hands on? To where we're leading into something and we come up with a resolution and then we tie our hands. I mean, we operate off of trust, we operate off of knowledge, we operate off of data and everything else. The data that I read in here and the data that our district has right now is we're out, we're a little bit ways away from a lot of other districts that are coming back in with another phase of these things. They're real close to going back to online learning and things like this. So we have that luxury of being a smaller district and those things. Can it be done off school? I don't know what kind of, when they say resources, what kind of money was spent from the district to do this, that was involved with it, because the way I understood that it happened through Santiam Hospital. Santiam Hospital assumed the liabilities, they assumed all the other things and they are a healthcare provider. We provided them a place that was convenient for the community to do it. So that part of it, for me, this resolution makes no sense to me to even be voting on it.
Okay, so the question is called for. We're gonna take a vote on this. It's been moved and seconded. To accept this resolution that, how did you say that, Fred, that we don't use any of the, oh, prohibiting the use of district resources for property for COVID vaccine. Okay, Tracy?
No, but we need a different process.
No. No, meaning that.
No
You're
on the
against-
resolution.
Okay. Fred? Aye. Good. Nay. Okay,
Nay.
chair votes nay. Okay. I tell you, that was a hard one. Because I was flopping back and forth.
We've got a lot more to this than just what we just
It's
voted
at a
on.
higher level.
We can't have board discussions amongst us about something that's up and coming without violating. You guys, the board chair and the vice chair get weekly meetings with the board, with the superintendent. And the other three board members don't know anything that's going on until the next board meeting. There's got to be a different way of coming about this. So that the board's involved. So.
How do you think that Kay and I are conspiring?
No, not at all. You can't have serial meetings, Terry.
Right, I know.
You know, you can't, you yourself or Kay herself can't pick up the phone and talk to each and every one of the other board members about the meeting that was going on between you guys and Brad prior to the board meeting. You know, we have no privileged information on that stuff. And if COVID clinic gets set up or a polio clinic gets set up or whatever, it doesn't give the board a chance to weigh in on board concerns.
Well, I would hope, Tracy, that Brad would talk, and I'm sure he probably would talk about it before just doing it.
Okay.
I mean, something that is, yeah, something that's that important. I would hope that he would talk to us about it as a board, not just as chair and vice chair.
I would hope so too.
Okay. We're gonna move on to number 11, where we're gonna have board self-evaluation discussion.
We have done the online survey from OSBA for the past 2 years. They no longer have a contract with the previous group. They have a new survey. And there are new standards for school boards, which I'm not aware of until. One of the board trainers, Vincent Adams from OSBA,
The fellow that was here before, right?
yes, would be willing to come May 9th and give us a 30-minute orientation about the survey. And then after we complete our surveys, the cost to the district is $575 for a 2-hour workshop to go over the results of the survey with the board and help or at least guide to what board goals might be considered for the next year. $575 for a 2-hour workshop.
But he's not gonna charge us to come talk.
No, not for the orientation. So I just wanted to let people know, I thought it would be, since it's a new set of standards, it would be nice to know what they are and what where we fall
To evaluate ourselves.
to our self-evaluation.
What do you guys think of that?
Let me share that the self-evaluation was part of the Lighthouse training that was, which was established nationwide to get the best from school boards so that they could figure out how to best govern their districts.
I think it'd be good if we came to the next board meeting and we could use that as a spotlight on education for us. You know, Vince would come in and talk to us for a half hour about that. And then, the public and the staff can hear about that part. What do you call them, the board?
Training,
No, the
the
things. that-
standards.
What the new standards are. You guys are okay with that? No problem. So, are we okay with that? Okay. We're gonna go to general comments. Yes.
I'd like to read the resolution we did pass today, which is resolution 2022, 22.04.001. Teacher Appreciation Week. Teacher Appreciation Week is observed annually during the first full week in May. In 2022, this week is the week of May 2nd. Whereas teachers mold future citizens through guidance and education, and whereas teachers encounter students of widely differing backgrounds, and whereas our country's future depends upon providing quality education to all students, and whereas teachers spend countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and performing community service, and whereas our community recognizes and supports its teachers in education educating the children of the community. Now, therefore be it resolved that Jefferson School District 14J Board of Directors proclaims May 2nd through May 6th, 2022 to be Teacher Appreciation Week, and be it further resolved that Jefferson School District 14J Board of Directors strongly encourages all members of the community to join with it in personally expressing appreciation to our teachers and their dedication and devotion to their work. We voted. It was consent.
Okay, any other comments? Tracy?
I'm looking forward to celebrating all of our staff this coming Wednesday. It's gonna be fun to be part of that with each and every one of you guys. It's gonna be rainy, so the menu is tri-tip, baked potatoes, rolls, mac and cheese, and relish trays. So the tri-tip is in my freezer, coming out onto the counter tonight to start thawing, so that I can get it all seasoned up. I just want you all to bring your appetites. So thank you for allowing the school board to serve you guys. And, show our appreciation for you. Something else that's being done for you guys, but I'll keep that in the mist. So thank you for all each and every day, the sacrifices that you put forth to educate all of our little ones. They turn into big ones, but they're still little ones.
Right.
So last week, talking about the big ones, the juniors and seniors, I had the pleasure of attending a career fair. And I think there was 14 different employers there, and I'm not sure how many students ended up attending. Over 100. So one thing I can tell you is I got to see the results of the teachers and all the hard work that they put in with these kids, some of them fairly wide-eyed, I'd have to say, realizing that graduation is just around the corner. And it was just a pleasure. The time flew by. I think I talked to probably just about every single one of them, and they were so well coached and ready for that career fair and asked excellent questions. And hopefully I'll see some of them out there in the workforce, and just what a fantastic event to maybe give them a little bit of introduction to life after. I know the colleges were represented, the military was there, and 14 different. So whatever I can do to help out to make sure we keep doing that, maybe expand on it. It was a terrific event, and you definitely tell the effort that the staff put into those kids. It very much showed they were ready to go. So thank you.
How many did you hire?
I don't know yet. I was busy. Our River Bend was there, which is our competition, so I was kind of busy getting away from those guys.
They do it? No comments. Okay. You have anything else? Okay, so I have a thing here, before each one of you board members, there's a policy that was brought to our attention. Board members is III-A-AR1. It talks about instructional material program adoption procedure. And it was brought to us. I want you guys to take this home and read over it. Do whatever homework you need to do on it. If you need to call OSBA and talk to them about policy. It was brought about this book that Brad has asked us to read. And I want you guys to study that policy and see if it applies with this book. And then we will put it on the board again next meeting. We'll talk about it. With that, also, yeah, I got that here. I just agree with what Tracy said about our staff and staff appreciation. You guys do a great job, each and every one of you. Thank you. With that, we're going to go to comments from the audience. And Bob, your name is on it.
Yes. I also want to say thank you to all the staff and actually the board members as well. This has been quite an experience for me. When I was able to take over as liaison from City Council, this has been an eye-opener for me and a pleasure for me to learn all the things that I'm hearing from you guys and learning new things from myself as well. One thing I want to say is I really appreciate the Booster Club auction coming back. I missed it. It was fun. It's something about $35,000 raised. And so that was an awesome deal. Also this little park thing. This is a new thing with us. The city council has been working for quite some time. One of our ideas is a splash pad. And we thought about another area, and that didn't work because it was too crowded of an area, too busy an area. And so that's gonna go somewhere in town. We don't know where yet, but it'll go. Two things I did want to say is that the last 6 months to a year in the city, we have seen more activity than I've seen in the last 4 years of being a counselor. We're having a lot of growth, a lot of activity within the city. We've had a lot of new developments. And I wanted to invite you guys, if you're available on Thursday night to our council meeting. We have quite a deal of an 84-unit apartment complex. They are appealing to the council. So we'll be doing that this next Thursday night, as well as trying to figure out how to bring in a third deputy into our community. And so all of that will affect all of us. And so I just want to let you know of all that. So, thank you.
What time is the city council meeting?
It's at 6:30.
Thank you.
Jennifer, anybody online? Okay, with that, at 8:23, we call this meeting adjourned.
Oh, my goodness.